Oh, this was so hard. That's what she said. Hey guys, don't even say it. I know I've been gone for a bit, but at least I have something to show for it. The wife and I had a baby. That's the biggest reason I've been gone for a bit, but you sweet, sweet YouTube viewers are itching for some more content. I know it. And what sort of music reviewer would I be if I didn't put out a best albums of 2017 video? So that's what this is going to be here today. There were so many great albums that came out this year that I had to expand this to a top 20 album list. I know it's crazy, but there was a lot I just couldn't decide on, and I felt bad about leaving some bands out, yada yada, and so you're getting 20 of my best albums of the year here. This year, one of my goals was to diversify my taste in music, and I think that definitely shows with this list, especially in my choices for the top 10. So definitely stick around to see what I got into this year. Now, the way this is going to work is I'm going to start at number 20, obviously, and work my way up to number 1. Early on in the list, I'm not going to talk too much about the albums because if I was going to go in detail on every album, we'd be here for hours and no one wants that. But as I get closer to number 1, I'm going to gradually start talking more about the album. So let's go. Number 20, I've kind of always written off Foo Fighters in spite of Nirvana because I'm not a big Nirvana fan. I think they're a little overrated if you ask me. But at a certain point, I can't deny how great of a band the Foo Fighters are. This year they released their album Concrete and Gold, which was probably the most solid and grounded pure rock album that came out this year. Number 19 is going to be Paramore, probably the most surprising on my list. Kind of just makes me want to get up and dance all the time. Number 18 would have to be Within the Ruins. This is also the first band on the list that I've actually seen live. Saw them a couple months ago and they absolutely kill it. This is a super technical death metal record, so definitely check it out. 17th best album of the year for me was by Enter Shikari. If you want a nice bridge between electronic music and rock music, this is the band you want to go to. They're definitely special and unique. I would definitely recommend checking out their track Rabble Rouser. We've got My Ticket Home coming in on the list at number 16. I hadn't really listened to these guys before this year, but with this album they took a direction more towards grunge and earlier 2000s rock. This is definitely going to be for fans of Linkin Park and Deftones. Number 15, Motionless in White has a nice gimmick going on, but the more I listened to the album that they put out this year, Graveyard Shift, it kind of sunk lower and lower on the list. There are a couple of good bangers like Eternally Yours and Soft, but nothing extravagant that got them into the top 10. Coming in at number 14 is the band Stray from the Path, one of the riskier and ballsiest albums to come out this year. They have a lot of politically charged lyrics. These guys mesh punk rock lyrics with hardcore musicality in one of the most politically charged albums of the year. A lot of great messages going on this one, and they definitely don't hold back in the lyrics. I would definitely recommend going and listening to Good Night All Right or The House Always Wins. Spot number 13 goes to Thy Art Is Murder, some of the best deathcore to come out this year. Kept me engaged the whole time and just breakdown after breakdown after breakdown is thrown at you. Great return for CJ McMahon. Just get ready to be kicked in the balls while listening to this one. Keeping it on the deathcore side of things, we have Fit for an Autopsy with their album The Great Collapse at spot number 12. Now, this is one of those albums that you definitely want to check out the lyrics for, so get them out, have them handy. Another politically charged album, a lot of stuff about the environment, things like that, but it's deathcore, which is a pretty cool and unique mix. Super heavy album, but again, yeah, the lyrics are just kind of what has it this high up on the list for me. The 11th spot goes to Wage War and their album Dead Weight. I know, some people are going to be disappointed that this album isn't higher up on my list, but there were some tracks that just didn't stick with me as well as I wanted them to, like with Blueprints. Still a great album overall. It's 11th spot, just out of the top 10. And also they created Stitch, which is contender for my favorite track overall of the year. So they get that going for them. Sweet guys, we're just going to keep on going with the top 10. Buckle up. Coming in at number 10 may be a bit of a controversial pick for some people. It's AFI's new self-titled album, also known as the Blood album. This rejuvenated my love for the band. I wasn't a huge fan of Burials or Crash Love. A lot of you guys will know that if you watched my review on the Blood album. But yeah, this album just got AFI right back up there for me. They've been around forever, and it's nice to know that they can still put out some good quality work. Go listen to it if you're looking for a little more gothy, emo-y rock vibe. Number 9 goes to Falling in Reverse and their album Coming Home. Kind of in the same vein as AFI. This album kind of sparked my enjoyment of the band Falling in Reverse again. I kind of looked at them as this immature band who you really shouldn't take seriously. They had goofy songs, kind of a guilty pleasure. But with this album, they took that opinion I had of them and they kind of just did a 180 with it. In a lot of ways, this is a softer album than you would expect from them, but I'm not complaining. That was definitely the right choice to make. Saw these guys live this year too, and Ronnie Radke is just an entertaining figure. I'll just put it that way. If you want to give these guys a shot, go check out The Departure or Straight to Hell. It was hard putting these guys so low on the list, but the 8th best album of the year for me this year was Dark Flag by the band Phineas. This album came out pretty recently, and I even had the pleasure of watching them play some of these songs live earlier this month. Absolutely kill it live. The clean singing on this album is beautiful and executed well, and you're probably going to get the lowest growls you're going to hear this year on a metalcore record with Phineas. It's a great concept record about the political state and history of North Korea. Great listen, some of the best guitar work that I've heard all year. And if you're going to listen to these guys, I'd recommend starting with Hell Below or Dark Flag. Sliding in at number 7 is Silverstein with their album Dead Reflection. Like AFI, I've liked these guys for a while, but unlike AFI, they haven't really let me down yet with a release. And they've been a band since 2000, and like the list of bands that have been around for 17 years and consistently put out great record after great record is a pretty short list, but in a heartbeat, I would put Silverstein on that list. They modernized their sound in a way that doesn't feel like selling out, and there are definitely moments on the record that do take me back to high school and even earlier when I first started listening to them. Shane comes up with some of the catchiest melodies in heavy music, and it's going to want you singing along the whole time. Check out Lost Positives or Ghost from Dead Reflection. Polaris is one of the most impressive bands to make this list this year because The Mortal Coil was their first full-length album. Super impressive. It's just so good, and it comes in at number 6. They've got a guitarist at the helm that I've been watching since he was putting up YouTube covers, and they utilize him well. The clean singing on this album is some of the catchiest. Some really great choruses like the one in The Remedy, a lot of brutal, hard-hitting breakdowns also like in The Remedy. I'm sure you can guess what song I'm going to have you listen to. This band is from Australia, and I cannot wait till they make it to the States so I can go check them out live. And other than The Remedy, I would recommend checking out Crooked Path from them. Alright, boys and girls, we're at the top tier here, top 5 albums, and I've been waiting for it, so let's dive in. Number 5 may surprise a lot of you. I know it surprises me, but it's the album Science Fiction by the band Brand New. This is probably the most different album on this list here. It's definitely softer, more acoustic instrumentation. It's pretty gloomy. It has the kind of a gloomier feel all throughout, although it also does give me some nostalgic feelings. Brand New has been around forever also, and unfortunately this year the singer was accused of sexual misconduct, and so it sounds like we're not going to be hearing a whole lot from them from now on. I think that they are disbanding after that. But in this case, I'm trying to separate the person from the art, if that makes any sense. Some of the most personal lyrics from the year appear on this album. Might make you smile, might make you cry, but either way, it's definitely going to bring out some emotions from you. I'm kind of sad that I slept on this band for so long, but I'm super glad that I picked up this record. Coming in at number 4 might be a bit of a no-brainer for some people. August Burns Red with their album Phantom Anthem, which I think definitely tops Found in Faraway Places. And you bet your ass I saw them live this year. Amazing as always. I think that these guys are at the top of the metalcore food chain, and they're there to stay. They managed to keep their albums just innovative enough to keep me hooked. Still more experimentation going on in their heads, but I think it's still helping the music more than it's letting it down. Obviously, some of the best guitar work that I've heard all year, and a lot of the breakdowns sound like they're from the Messengers era, while the rest of the instrumentation does feel like it's just the next chapter of what the band is bringing to the table after Found in Faraway Places. My favorites from this album are King of Sorrow and Quake. Number 3 is another band that I just found out about this year, and they're the top quote-unquote metalcore band on my list, although the artist at number 2 could also be considered metalcore. Semi-spoiler alert. But anyway, the band I'm talking about is Currents. Yeah, it's just this little band Currents. Hadn't heard of them before this year really, until they put out The Place I Feel Safest. While some metal bands only excelled in one category this year, whether it be brutality, lyrics, breakdowns, drum work, what have you, these guys are top-notch in all categories. Face-melting guitar riffs, deep personal lyrics at your disposal to analyze and decipher. This album just has a big atmosphere about it. They do a really good job of building those atmospheres. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but if you take a listen, I think you'll get what I'm saying. Definitely go check out Night Terrors and Dreamer. Okay guys, I had a tough time deciding between these last two bands where to put them. I like how one was released super early in the year and one pretty late in the year. Kind of just sandwiches my music experience together in between them. But I finally made a decision, and honestly this decision could change by the end of the video. It could change at any time, who knows. I have put The Sin in the Sentence by Trivium at number 2, second best album of the year. There is a very specific reason why the album at number 1 is at number 1. But just know it's nothing against Trivium's album. It's just a specific experience I had with that record. Anyway, The Sin in the Sentence is such a perfect metal record. I haven't had any doubts about it since it first made its way into my ears. Again, here we have another band who's kind of coming back. A lot of fans were let down by Silence in the Snow. Not me, I liked it, but they had to sort of rebound and see what they could do to kind of gain that fan base back, while at the same time gaining new fans, and they really did a good job with that. A lot of pressure on their shoulders. They got a new drummer, but luckily he kills it, and I hope that he's here to stay. His parts are just nailed on this record. Matt has improved his singing and his screaming both. The guitar work on this album is phenomenal. I've always loved the guitar work by these guys. The album just has an epic feel to it. Each song kind of just creates this world that I can envision myself in. It's a really weird way to describe an album, but it's the best way I can kind of get my feelings out about it. I enjoy every single song on this record, which is one thing that it has over the album at number 1. And this album is definitely not leaving my regular music cycle anytime soon. My favorites would definitely have to be The Heart From Your Hate or Beyond Oblivion. Probably definitely Beyond Oblivion, so go check it out. Woo, we're finally here, guys. Thanks for watching this far if you've gotten here. If you've been following me all year, you probably know which album is coming up next at the number 1 spot. It's Starset's new album, Vessels. Well, it's not that new anymore. It's almost a year old, which is pretty crazy to think about. So let me tell you really quick, I kind of hinted at this story a little bit earlier about why this album is number 1 for me. I hadn't listened to it in a while, and I will admit that I was a little bit love drunk off of Trivium's new album. So I hadn't listened to Starset's in a while, and I knew that this video was going to be coming up soon, so I decided to pop it back in because I knew I really enjoyed the album when I was first listening to it. So turn it on, hit play, and by the 4th song, my eyes were kind of welling up. I got a little bit emotional with the album. And it's not that the album is super sad or sappy or anything like that. There is this big interwoven story of love and sacrifice throughout it, but it's just a beautiful album. That's one of the best ways that I can describe it. Every song is sing-alongable, whatever, I'm using it, and especially track 3, Frequency. That song just kind of hits home for me for some reason. It hasn't really left my mind all year. A really powerful piece of music they've got here. Dustin Bates is the head of the band, and he mixes the electronic elements of the music with the heaviness of the music in such a perfect way, and I'm not the biggest fan of electronic music, so when an album or an artist kind of switches my mindset about a specific genre of music, I know there's definitely something special at my hands. Anyway, I didn't really mean to go down that sappy path or whatever, but sometimes that just happens. You never know what's going to happen, especially with music. But anyway, like I hinted at when I was talking about Trivium, there are a couple of songs on Vessels that I'm not a huge fan of, and that's why it was so hard deciding to put this album at number 1. But in the end, it captured the spot for me overall. There you go, guys, my top 20 albums of the year. What surprised you guys, and what did you see coming from a mile away? I want to know in the comments below, as well as your favorite albums of the year, and maybe your least favorite albums of the year. I might do a video on those too, I'm not sure yet. Did you expand your horizons as well, or did you stay in your own little bubble? No judgment either way, I just want to know what's going on with you guys. Oh, also, let me know what you guys think about those breakdown medleys, because I enjoy making them, but I want to know what you guys think. Haven't had a chance to ask for your feedback yet, but let me know if you guys enjoyed them, so I know if I should put more effort and time into them. Make sure to follow me on social medias. I'm always down to talk about music on any of those platforms. I'm so glad to be back, guys. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Rock on.